Hello YouTube, doing a SMITE patch notes today, SMITE Patch 4.15 as you can see there. But the reason I'm not actually on the patch notes page is because the first thing I'm going to talk about is the new website. It looks pretty dang good. This is the home page. It's got exactly what you want, right? The first button. Just kind of want patch notes. But for anyone who wants more than patch notes, it's got more stuff. Gods. Click through them. Best one. Community stuff. Just everything's more accessible. It looks modern. It looks updated. Looks pretty good. I don't know if it's actually in the patch notes, but just want to spotlight that real quick. Anyways, patch 4.15. Skins. This is a skin. I'm not gonna say anything more about it. It is a rainbow unicorn skin, and he has butterflies in his bag. It's fabulous. Okay. Next skin, Amaterasu. Amaterasu is one of my favorite gods. She's not very good right now, but I like to play her. So this is a cool skin. I like it. Summertime, sundress, hooray. Artemis. The dark elf look that they gave her is so good. Tusky is huge if you didn't watch the VOD. He's like bigger, taller than Artemis almost. Looks like one of those roly-poly bugs, ones that roll up, you know. But really cool looking skin. So, and by the way, these two skins are the two summer skins that are unlocked in the summer tab in the top right when you're playing Smite. In case you were wondering, the last two were Morgan and Opwatch, and then before that was Kuzumbo and Daji. These are the two for this patch. Gentleman's Sun Wukong, or Earl Wubert Sergeant? Definitely Saint. Kong Free Sun Wukong. Weird freaking name. Don't ask me to pronounce it. I obviously can't do it. But the Fez is cool. Doctor Who. Where's the Fez? I don't think that's what they're referencing at all, but Fezes are cool. So, yeah. The Scotty skin. These two, obviously, dragon themed. Yeah, that one. The Calder looks. It's not actually Calder in this skin. It's Smolder. She has I did not know, but she has a different name for Calder for every skin, and in this one it happens to be Smolder. And the dragon, while it's on someone, looks pretty cool. But the dragon that when it's running next to her, when it's in its passive mode or whatever, spirit form, looks amazing. It's so cool. So if you could find a way to get this skin because it's really good. And then Scotty herself is really cool. The effects on this skin are actually some of the coolest I've seen. Obviously she's fire and not ice because dragons, and they did a super good job of converting an ice god, because she's normally ice, converting an ice god into a fire god seamlessly, and her abilities look super cool. So, Kukul Khan, this skin is the one that comes with the adventure bundle, and I think the Scotty skin is the one you unlock with the golden key. I think. Don't quote me there. But yeah, the Kukul Khan skin looks super cool. Obviously, I mean, it's a freaking dragon. The effects on this look amazing. The whirlwind and everything looks super cool. There's fire inside the whirlwind. The ult looks awesome. I mean, it's a flying dragon that's not all rainbowy. This is an amazing skin, and I will most certainly be buying the bundle to get this skin. I might be a Kukulkan main. Zeus Noble skin looks pretty good with the shades. I don't think they changed a whole lot other than the colors on the robe, the black and yellow here, just to match here. But it's a cool skin. All of the t-shirt skins look pretty cool. They're nothing special, but they look cool. So, and then some Wukong Mastery, hooray! Into the actual patch. Well, kind of. Amaterasu Dance, hooray! Adventure bundle, like I said, you get the Kukulkan Dragon Rage skin, and then just the normal stuff you get with adventure bundles. Yep, it is the Scotty Dragon skin in the Gold Vault. You can quote me on that. And then talking about console, because they're just now getting Project Olympus. Cool. It's the same stuff we've gotten pretty much. There's nothing new here, except for this, I think. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's there for people who use a very specific button settings. So they're adding the ability to not have that if you still want to use that button setup. That's cool. Miscellaneous, they are just fixes to what they said they were going to do before, basically. Arena, no one really cares, but that's a lot of gold. This is actually kind of big. Nobody was going to mid harpies anyways. They were still doing their buff camps. But people were doing kind of like people were doing mid harpies instead of going to oracles with their ADC and support, so that they didn't have to split them. So this is just going to give mid lane even less experience. So I don't know. That was a change that I kind of liked. The fact that they took so much off of them from last season, and then they added a little bit back, and then they were just taking it all back again. I don't know. They don't know what they want to do with mid harpies. Bug fixes, Vamp Shroud. This was abusable on certain gods. The only one I know of actually was Xingqian, but nobody's playing Xingqian very much anyways. So I mean, if you get matched up against the Sun Wukong, you just lose hard, and your team fight's not actually all that much better anyways. So Shaman's Ring and Ao Kuang, okay. This has been, I mean, I've only played Arachne a little bit. I think she's Mastery 1 on Xbox, and I don't think I've played her at all on PC yet. But I knew about this issue, and it was not cool. Like, her ult is such a good escape that you use it as an escape quite often because it doesn't deal that much damage. And then going to a buff or something, like going to your speed from solo lane, you couldn't use it to damage the buff, which just made everything slower. Whereas like Thor, if he ults at a wrong spot or ults to get out as well, he can land and deal damage to a buff. So it's just this needed to be fixed, and it's been there since I started Smite. So RTO fixed an ability where she was balanced sometimes. Kukulane, this just newer god, still fixing him from release, I guess. In the Raijin rework of his passive and stuff, they forgot a thing, so they fixed it. Now to the actual patch, the balance changes. Ichval and Silver Branch getting lowered. They were really strong. If you didn't go Ichval second item after boots, you were at a disadvantage for a while. maybe even the whole game. So yeah, they was a little bit too strong, especially for a tier 2. Excuse me. Uh, and then Silver Branch with the rise of magical ADCs, you just got to make sure that this one comes down with it, because it's basically the same item if you're going against a Soul or a Kronos or a Freya. Uh, this was leaked. Well, this was leaked, but Cursed Gauntlet Tier 2 lowered, which is actually decent. If you bought this before, you could get 1 pot, which you do not want to go to lane with 1 pot. You want at least 2 minimum, so you can get a health and a mana. So they brought this to where you could get that minimum. So it's decent. The people that really like lifesteal, I think, might opt for this before boots now. No starter item or anything, but I don't think this will change a whole lot. Devourer's Gauntlet. This change, I'm not gonna call it a buff. This change, it feels like they want to buff it, but they don't want to over buff it because they know it's still kind of good. Um, I don't think this made it better. Just a little bit different. I guess if I had to put a better or worse on it, I would put better, but not much. Power 25 to 30, so it's a bigger spike when you originally get it. I believe Transcendence is 35, so it's still not as big a spike as that. But it's better when you originally get it. Increase physical power from 0.4 to 0.5, so you're getting a total, I think they said, of 10 more power when it's fully stacked, especially when they decreased stacks from 75 to 70. This change was weird. I did not expect this change. Yeah, so you get 5. No, I'm reading it. 5 power here and 5 power at the end. But you get less lifesteal, which I think is weird because Devo's was always like just you buy it for the lifesteal. The stacks and the power and stuff were fine, but you bought it for the lifesteal. So having lower lifesteal just feels a little weird. That's why I don't think it's a straight up buff, even though it's only 1%. But 1% out of 15 is not a tiny amount. The Icky changes and Soul Branch I think were great, but then they did a buff to Aussie. We're going to see a lot more of Aussie. I think it's basically just going to replace Icky. It still has less attack speed, but it's cheaper. It's the lifesteal is 20% at base, whereas Devo Gloves fully stacked is 14. So, like, if you want just lifesteal, get Aussie. Like, if you want to stack and you want lifesteal, get Transcendence and Aussie. There's no point to having Devos, I don't think. I don't know. There's some weird changes. I don't know exactly how they'll work out, but I think we're just going to see Boots, Aussie, Exy, especially since Exy's getting a buff. So, yeah, and then 20% plus the passive. If you go like try to solo a Gold Fury and it's going to be close, you hit the Aussie passive, and then all of a sudden you're back up to half health because that's going to be crazy lifesteal. Bloodforge, I mean, if you're like 70,000 kills ahead, you might buy it. And then they dropped it 50 gold, so if you're 60,000 kills ahead, you might buy it. It's still an item that you buy when you're super far ahead, or if it's 55 minutes into the game and you have unlimited gold, basically. So this didn't change a thing. Xe, was already super strong. It was the third item built right after Ichabod in pretty much every build, except for like Scotty builds, where you don't really need attack speed or anything. You just want straight up power and pen. But every other hunter basically bought this item, and they just buffed it for some reason. Uh, yeah, Deathbringer. It was one of the most expensive items in the game. It was still purchased because it was super good. Like if you were going crit, you wanted Deathbringer. Like if you're running a Naja, you or Hunbats, you wanted Deathbringer. Um, you didn't. It wasn't necessary, but you wanted it, and so bringing it down 200 is. I mean, it's already a strong item, and they're just lowering the cost. I don't know. I don't like the change a whole lot. I mean, I'm gonna like it when I'm playing Hunter because it happens. My crit happens faster, but yeah, I don't know why they reduced the price. Poison Star. I always thought it was weird that it was 15 anyways. Every other crit item is 20 except for Rage, but that is all about crit chance. Um, I mean, I understand that this is the cheapest crit item in the game, so it made a little bit of sense. But I don't know. I felt like it should have been 20, so they made it 20. Cool. Titan's Bane, lowering it by 150 gold. I mean, the reason that you didn't buy it on some characters was because you just bought Xe, which is 36%, and 36%, and then this having 33%. It just didn't synergize super well. You could totally still do it as a viable build, but you just didn't need it. And then having Brawler's Beat Stick along with uh, Joden's or the Crusher was plenty of pen. You didn't need to buy this. Uh, so just lowering this, I don't think it will change anything except for a couple of characters who already bought it, basically. So, and then Obshard, I I understand why, because they lowered Titans. They feel like they have to lower Obshard. But Obshard was basically the only pen option, except for Spear of Deso, but that's flat pen and you need more pen. There's no Xe, there's no item that could supplement Obshard. So just lowering it is just going to make it better. Nobody bought Spear of the Magus was buffed a while back, and everyone thought, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be great on certain gods." But Obshard is still the option. Like it didn't change anything except for people like maybe Anubis, but nobody plays Anubis. So the weird change, especially since they didn't buff or change at all any of the other items in that tree. So Stone of Gaia, um, I don't think this stops pulls anymore. Um, yeah, it does not. So instead of stopping the pull, which was super useful, or pull or knock up was technically the term, I believe. Knock up, knock back, pull, or grab. 10% of your max health uh, is not gonna at all matter. Like the stuff you were avoiding when you proc Stone of Gaia, except for the times when people pulled it out or something on purpose, were way more than 10% of your health. So this is a nerf for sure. Um, it wasn't picked up like all that often anyways. This is actually, now that I think about it, a decent solo lane item, especially right now if you're laning against a Sun Wukong. He likes to use his bull form to just kill the last few minions and get back to tower and back real quick. Uh, but if he hits you with that, which he most often does on purpose most of the time, he will proc this, and then you'll just get a free 10% of your health. Um, there's still better items for solo than anything. Shifters been really strong for a long time. They nerfed it a little bit, but only by increasing the price of it. I think 2 patches ago, maybe 3. Um, I think this one is a much larger nerf. Well, I'm sure it's a much larger nerf. Remove the 15 magic protections on the base. So unless you're below 50%, you don't get any magical protections from it. So you can't run at mages as well if you build this item. You can still run at them. You're still a warrior, but you're gonna have to build specifically to do that. So I don't know. I always like Shifter Shield before its buff. I bought it on gods like Thor and stuff. The more tanky assassins. I didn't buy it on warriors, but I think this is a decent change. I think this will put it into a very niche pick item, but it's not going to be terrible. So good change, I think. Gladiator Shield, too strong for the amount of gold that it is in the passive. The passive is the real problem. The physical protections weren't really the problem. Like Raven and Sun Wukong, with how often they're able to spam their abilities and get 2%. And I think it's AoE, so if you hit multiple gods with like a Sun Wukong 1, you proc this multiple times. I could be wrong about that. Uh, but it's too strong, even especially actually late game, since it's percent health return. Uh, People just weren't selling it, and it's technically supposed to be, well, they want it to be a bridge item that you buy and then sell late game for something better, but there's no reason to sell it. If you build even a little bit of health, even if you don't build any health, but especially if you built a little bit of health, this was just really strong. The passives, it's still strong. I keep talking about how it was strong and stuff, but it still is. This didn't change much. Heartseeker, um, it it's not bad. It didn't People didn't stop buying it because it was bad. They stopped buying it because other stuff became better. Um, I still think Heartseeker was really good, though it was already fairly cheap. They nerfed it at the beginning of season 4 because it was way too strong, and then it was still really strong, and then people just stopped buying it, so they're buffing it. I don't know. I don't think they should have touched it. I think it was in a fine spot. They didn't change it by a whole lot, but you know, why change it when it's not bad or broken? Anyways, that's items. More items definitely than last patch. Uh, we'll have to see how that all works out with the Icky and the Aussie. So, yeah. Gods, RTO, everyone's favorite Guardian right now? No, I'm not going to say favorite. Everyone's most hated. She I said last patch, going over her patch notes, that I didn't think she was going to be OP. I still don't think she's super OP. I think she's extremely strong, and there's almost no chance to, if she gets ahead, which is super easy for her, then she is OP. If she's behind, she's still really good. She's one of the best from behind, obviously, because she's super good. But I think that a lot of pros haven't played her or against her, since most of them play ranked and she's not available in ranked yet. So we don't really know how to play against her yet, because that's where most of like outplay potential is seen, is when pros get a handle, is when pros are able to play against the god. They figure out her weaknesses a lot better than plebs, to be honest. Uh, so she needed a nerf for sure. Um, I don't know. I just don't know, man. Increase cooldown from 10 to 12. That's good. I think that she still does too much damage, especially in the druid form. I think she does too much damage. Her bear form is supposed to be built around damage, so the amount of damage it does is fine. Well, fine. Uh, but her druid form did a lot of damage for being a heal. So I think they should have nerfed the damage here, but a cooldown damage is at least something. So yeah. This one I feel like is kind of just a bug fix instead of a nerf, even though it is a bug fix in the negative for RTO. Other gods who have stuff that stays onto the field do not go on cooldown immediately. It's when it finishes. So I feel like it was just kind of an oversight that they did that. And then her protections got lowered. That guy said last patch, last patch, these protections didn't mean a whole lot, but again, at least it's something. So, yeah, RDO nerfs. I think she needed them, but I don't think these were the right ones. They're something at least, so they're trying, but I don't think these were the right ones. I think that her 3 needed some touches as well. Camazotz has been a bit strong, and the worst part about him, to most people, myself included, is his ultimate. He can pop 4 and he is completely undamageable, untargetable, and he can move and hit you 3 times, and I feel like it's a stupid ability, so having it deal less damage is never going to be a bad thing for me. I don't like Camazotz, honestly, as a god, so any nerfs that I see to him are good in my opinion. So Freya, I talked about last patch how it was a big Freya patch, and it was too big of a Freya patch. They way over buffed her. This, people, I don't know, I feel like people weren't talking about this one, but I talked about how 0.5, 0.05 actually, was gonna be pretty big, especially with the change to demonic grip. And I think that's what happened. I think that's exactly what happened, because you buy demonic grip every game because it's your pen item. So this raising after 30% and raising her base attack speed was too much. Too much. And then Pulse, with it being a slow as well, they increased the damage too much. They made it too easy for her to just kill someone level 1. Frey's supposed to be a late game god, and if you got stuck in a bad position against her in the wave, either in the duo lane as a hunter or mid lane as a mid laner or jungler, you just died. She did too much damage. So this isn't a huge buff, but I think it's exactly what she needed. If I remember correctly, she went from 20 to 30 and 60 to 70, so they're having it, they're compromising right in the middle. So I think she needed a buff last patch, and she needs a nerf this patch, so they're putting her right in the middle, just like they probably should. Rama is the best hunter, the best actual hunter, with Kronos and Freya kind of taking best ADC, but Rama is the best hunter right now. Partially because his level 1 clear with 5 astral arrows was crazy good. With people starting at their buffs, Rama was one of the only hunters that has the ability to start in lane at the tier 1 tower and just clear the wave instantly, and then invade, and then he's just way ahead. because the other team doesn't secure their own buffs, and then he still has his own buffs to go get. And then he also secures oracles because he has wave pressure, and yeah, it was too strong. So they're just lowering that. It won't make that big of a difference late game. 55 damage isn't a whole lot late game anyways, and 5 damage that they're removing from it is next to nothing. So it won't do anything to his late game, but his early game, 5 damage is pretty big on the wave, so hit him pretty hard. But it was a good buff. It won't take him out of the meta at all. It won't make him a terrible hunter. It'll just make him easier to deal with level 1. He won't insta clear wave. So, but he'll still clear wave pretty dang well because he'll still have 5 astral arrows, but you know. And one thing that it did not talk about in here at all, I don't think, is the adventure. I guess it said something about it here, the adventure bundle, but it didn't talk about what it was and what's going to happen during the adventure. So, I am going. I have the clip from High Res set up right here. This is from just High Res TV, the patch notes video that they put out. If you didn't see it, I recommend going watching the whole video, but this is the adventure hype video, I guess you can call it. So I think I'm going to try and take myself off the screen here, and then let's watch it. I'm going to make it full screen. Get my mouse out of the way. So yeah, that looks hype as crap. The holes and all look cool, yeah, but I think that the feature that a lot of people didn't talk about during the clip was the huge ass rock that fell on like 5 people and killed all of them. I think that was crazy, and I think that that's going to be the bigger factor. People are obviously going to try to throw people in the hole and stuff, but the more random factor, the thing that's going to be more fun, in my opinion, is the randomness of it, and the rocks falling, I think, is going to be what does that. So yeah, I'm super pumped. I don't like Arena very much. I wonder if the god or the gold spooling will translate to this. Random thought. So yeah, that's actually going to do it though. Patch 4.15 for Smite. Thank y'all for stopping by and having a good time watching me explain things. Well, I hope you had a good time at least. Have a good day.